The Short and Short Mike DJ Kelly podcast. This is the Mike DJ Kelly podcast. This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Mike Kelly.
Yes, here we are with another fun-filled, action-packed audio adventure where we continue to look on the bright side of stuff in the new normal, or as near as we can get to normal, with the cataclysmic issue number 34 of the Shorter Than Short Shabby Mike DJ Kelly podcast show. It's another top-notch show where we strive through another week of shambolic life in the UK, with everything looking more and more downbeat. Still, let's be bright, let's turn on the light, let's be cheerful for at least the next 15 minutes.
On this week's podcast.
So here we go. It's not world-beating, but hey, what is? Let's fire away with our latest show where we'll be playing Lockdown Bingo and discussing what's in and what's out, other people's podcasts, asset stripping, car share, Wetherspoons, and a whole lot more.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Caught a few minutes of Dr. No on the TV last weekend and could not get over how the people in the about-to-be-destroyed radiation plant were wearing protective clothing just the same as the hairdressers I'd seen in the news bulletin earlier on.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
What's in? What's out? You choose. Tim Martin, Dave Starkey, statues, Jill Steen Maxwell, Nicola Sturgeon, and Jeremy Clarkson.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Some news from Twitter. Briefcase Michael on Twitter. Just for a bit of perspective, there are millions in the UK who never go to pubs, never go to restaurants, never go on overseas holidays, or in some cases any holidays at all, either from choice or because they can't afford to. Sarah, when I was a kid, I worried a lot more about spontaneous human combustion than I think I needed to. James Bartlett on Twitter. Pubs will be reopened, but you should only go if it's for essential drinking and you cannot drink from home.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Is it just me, or does anyone, when seeing Prime Minister Johnson, think that there is a similarity between him and the late vodka-swigging Russian leader Boris Nikolaevich Yeltsin? I know I harp on about how depressing radio is in these days, but it's just got worse with the BBC saying that due to financial cutbacks that the lockdown programme schedule on local radio will become permanent. It's pretty naff with these 3 solo presenters on each local station doing 4-hour shows, and near me presenters are voicing their own traffic news. I'm assuming that's another cutback. Also, just a thought, we have all the national BBC stations for the UK, but Scotland and Wales have BBC Scotland and BBC Wales. But where is the BBC England? Just asking. Competition time, but no prizes. What song are these lyrics from? We're going to ride till there ain't no more to go. Taking it slow, Lord, don't you know. Those lines again. We're going to ride till there ain't no more to go. Taking it slow, Lord, don't you know. Name the song or the artiste. And if one competition wasn't enough, here's another. Which 60s pop star taught master disc spinner Tony Blackburn to water ski? If you want to get in touch with anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. Email, it's hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, or on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. There's a fly annoying me while I'm making this podcast. If I had a newspaper, I could get the blighter. But who has a newspaper these days?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Let's talk telly. When Ben Shepherd on Tipping Point says, nice top shelf, is it an euphemism for something else? On a recent Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, before the ad break, Clarkson was heard to say, you have 4 minutes to put your children to bed, or if you haven't got any, you have 4 minutes to make one.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
If you watch Peter Kay's Car Share, this will annoy you if you've not already noticed it. Why is the back window of the car dirty? All the other windows and the car are clean, just the back window that you cannot see through. I'm guessing it's because the car is on a trailer. Better news from Kate Garraway that husband Derek Draper has opened his eyes after 98 days in a coma. Still a long way to go, but we wish him well.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Tony Hadley is looking good at 60, but is not happy with Martin and Gary Kemp for selling their souls and gold to Bold. Lots of people are not happy and boycotting Wetherspoons due to Tim Martin's ways of working. Also, a lot puzzled as to why he got £40 million plus of government, or should I say, our money. On top of that, several people are commenting on how Richard Branson's campaign to get money to save his airline has gone very quiet, and wonder if that means he got a bulging brown envelope. If you came across the Shorter Than Short podcast by chance, we would love you to subscribe and follow it at iTunes, Spotify and Podbean.com.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
This week's do-gooders can be found at rspca.org.uk. They are proud to be the oldest welfare charity around. They were the first to introduce a law to protect animals and work hard to ensure that all animals can live free from pain and suffering. Through their campaigns, they raise standards of care, awareness of issues affecting animals today. They rely on your support to help them push through for changes in the law to improve the welfare of animals on farms, in labs and in the wild, in paddocks or in our homes. Through investigations and prosecutions, they stand up to those who deliberately harm animals to send out a clear message. They will not tolerate animal abuse. Their highly trained officers tackle neglect and cruelty on every level, working to stamp out animal cruelty. Animals can rely on the RSPCA to rescue them when they need them most, to rehabilitate them whenever possible, provide them with the very best veterinary care, and to find them new homes either through rehoming or release. Find out more at rspca.org.uk. On Twitter, Sergeant Doowop tweeted, "Social distancing going from 2 metres to 1 metre. I'm guessing my arm's length is about a metre, so anyone within that range is going to know about it." Hayley Ellis, "If only the Wombles lived on Bournemouth Beach." Tony Hawks on Twitter, "The trouble with common sense is that it doesn't appear to be very common." The new Glorious Free Republic of Yorkshire radio show podcast episode entitled Hector the Agony Ant and Professor Henry Slumberback is out. It's very good, it's very funny. Just search Glorious Free Republic of Yorkshire radio show to find it. Also came across the Fresh Air Productions Co.uk, that's air as in the river Air, and their podcast shows. The episode I was listening to was The Great Yorkshire Buffet, and it's extremely funny and features some very talented actors, including Irene Lofthouse and Peter Aveyard.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Lockdown bingo. So what's all the different scenarios whereby you can meet people? What is a bubble? How many can you meet in a park or public place? Whose house and how many of you can go to it? Can you drive to another country? Where do you have to wear masks? What happens if you break the rules? I'm not sure. Can we get an expert to explain? Stanley or Dominic will do. You get more mentions of bubbles nowadays than you ever did with "Now hands that do dishes can feel soft as your face with mild green fairy liquid." Even Bubbles, born 30th of April 1983, a chimpanzee once kept as a pet by American singer Michael Jackson, didn't get this many mentions.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Lots of businesses having a hard time due to lockdown, but is a lot of it due to how the business has been run previously, like in the 80s and 90s, when it became the norm to asset-strip businesses, which included selling off the property and renting it back. Wouldn't a lot of businesses closing for 100+ days be better off if they did not have to pay rent? Saw a doctor complaining on Twitter that one of their patients could not get a COVID-19 test due to not having an email address. I have a friend who was a detective inspector who used to say it's certain families that cause all the trouble. So if one bad family moved from an estate, all the crime usually went with them. Makes you wonder about the Maxwells, with Ghislaine Maxwell in the news, born 25th of December 1961 and youngest child of disgraced publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell and Labour MP, who vanished after slipping overboard from his yacht and leaving the Mirror Pension Fund and several other businesses in a precarious position. Lots of people using the word staycation this year to refer to holidays taken in the UK, but I think they're wrong. I'm sure staycation used to refer staying at home for your holiday and not going anywhere, including other parts of UK. And talking about the UK, watching the government and how it operates and performs is like watching a plot from a Tom Sharpe novel. Are we to become a divided nation? Will Scotland become independent? Let's talk about food. Had a Crunchy and a Kit Kat this week, and aren't they small by comparison to the size they used to be? Still got my eyes open for a tin of chlorinated chicken, but have not found any so far.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
I was following a Dale's dairy van the other day that listed on the back door the products and services that they provide. The list included cheese wedding cakes. As a cheese lover, I could go for this, particularly if made with different types of cheeses. Bread is nice with cheese, but sad news at the Openfield Cooperative, which has revealed that it's lost its flagship contract supplying wheat to Warburtons to rival grain trader Frontier. Haxby Bakehouse near York makes artisan bread which gets a political point across by baking occasional statements or slogans into its bread, the sort of political message Warburtons would never support.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
David Dunning UK on Twitter. The mink are now running all over the place and seem very happy to be in human company, but please keep your kids away from them. Cute, but vicious. That's all happening in York, and there's a picture below showing the mink running around the streets. Mark Stevens, next year can we clap for all our MPs rather than give them a pay rise? If you want to get in touch with this top-rated, much-listened-to podcast, please contact email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business, voiceover, or any help with radio, producer, or presentation work, please get in touch. You can always get the Shorter Than Short podcast by going to iTunes, Spotify, and on podbean.com and searching for Mike DJ Kelly. Quotes and cuts of this show may be used, but remember all material has been got from somewhere and somebody's had to put some effort into doing it, so please credit us. Still very depressing watching ITV between 7 and 8 p.m. with Emmerdale and Coronation Street and their miserable and tragic storylines. It would not be on if I was in charge of the remote control. A lot of people puzzled by if you can sit on a full aircraft, why can't you go to the theatre, church or play cricket, although that is now starting to ease.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
A lot of statue toppling going on at present. It does make you question whether or not they are needed. I think I come down on the not needed side, and anything that's important history should be taught in school. I know what you're saying. School? What's that?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Okay, it's time to go. So what was the song these lines were from? We're going to ride till there ain't no more to go. Taking it slow, Lord don't you know. Neil Diamond, Crackling Rosie. And which 60s pop star taught Tony Blackburn to water ski? Dave Clark of the Dave Clark 5. That's enough for this edition of the Crazy Shorter Than Short Shabby podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly, thank you for listening. Please take care out there. And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting Mike DJ Kelly podcast.
The Shorter Than Short Mike DJ Kelly podcast. This is the Mike DJ Kelly podcast. This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Mike Kelly.